Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Head 2, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. So there's some drama in Major League Baseball, in particular the Major League Baseball Players Association. And this is unprecedented in the history of the union. And that is Tony Clark, who's been a player for many years. The first player ever elected to this role. And I don't think he's had a very successful run, to be honest with you. We had the work stoppage the last time. I blame him for a lot of stuff, but boy, oh boy, this story about him and his sister-in-law is it is the funniest thing. And then, of course, the union is getting all ready for the lockout next year. Headline from USA Today: Tony Clark scandal revelations, resignation rock baseball. Now what for the Major League Baseball Players Association? One of the most tumultuous days in the Major League Baseball Players Association proud history. Union Chief Tony Clark resigned after an internal investigation revealed inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law. I mean, really, talk about all in the family. Kept it all in the family. Put it in all in the family. Let's put it that way. What? A union employee with players debating later in the day who should take over his job on an interim basis. Well, we have a new person that's going to be taking over. The union had a conference call with their 30 player representatives and 8 executive council members to discuss Clark's forced resignation and vote on whether Bruce Meyer, the union's lead negotiator, should be his replacement. I'll get to that at the end of this video. While the executive council expressed support for Meyer, there was pushback from at least 3 different players on the call who opposed Meyer, according to one player, and no vote was taken. The players are scheduled to convene again Wednesday in a conference call after player representatives are able to speak to their teammates, with the executive council expected to push for a vote. If Meyer is not approved, the union could promote an attorney from its general counsel for a vote taken of players. I mean, this thing about Tony Clark is just insane. Meanwhile, the union postponed its first spring training meetings with the Cleveland Guardians and Chicago White Sox on Tuesday. Meyer and union officials are scheduled to meet at 10:30, and we know all about this. Clark, who was cleared by the union's internal investigation for handling its finances, still faces a federal investigation by the Eastern District of New York. The federal investigation uncovered the relationship between Clark and his wife's sister, who has worked at the union's Scottsdale, Arizona office since it opened. What the hell's going on in Arizona? My goodness. First you got this stuff going on. You got that poor old lady got kidnapped. And the news keeps talking about, I think they kind of given up, I think. Or for office since it opened in 2020. I mean, really, that poor woman. What value does she have at 84 years old? Anyway, let me get back to it. The federal investigation uncovered the relationship between Clark and his wife's sister, who has worked at the union's Scottsdale, Arizona office since it opened in 2023. I mean, I don't know if it's the heat. Maybe it's the heat there. Maybe it's the sun. I don't know. Makes you want to take your clothes off and be with your brother-in-law. This is your sister's husband. Maybe it's, what's the beard? The white beard? I mean, really. I mean, what the hell's going on there? You know. I keep going on and on and on about this. You know. Just crazy. I mean, let's be honest. She earned $83,100 in 2023 and $96,000 plus in 2024, according to union financial statements. Wow, that's a lot of money. The union issued a release late Tuesday night confirming Clark's resignation, but not specify the reason, saying only that their union staff, outside counsel and players, had discussed the next steps. Well, you're fooling around with an employee who's your sister-in-law. You get him out of here. Quote, as always, the players remain focused on their ongoing preparations for collective bargaining this year, the statement read. The strength of this union is and will always be the solidarity of our membership. We have a long history of fighting for the rights of every player, and we're committed to making sure we can continue that fight successfully. Several members of the executive subcommittee speaking to reporters Tuesday insisted that Clark's departure would not lead the union in disarray as they're about to embark on negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement. Owners are expected to seek a salary cap like the other 3 major sports, while the union is vehemently opposed to even discussing the concept. Quote, I don't think it has any impact on negotiations. Detroit Tigers pitcher Tariq Skubal, a member of the subcommittee, told reporters in Lakeland. Bruce has been our lead negotiator. He's done it in the past. Although Tony has been the face of the PA in terms of negotiating, I'm still as confident as ever in Bruce and everyone else that we've got behind. We'll see. We'll have an update on this momentarily. Headline from MLB Trade Rumors. Bruce Meyer elected MLBPA Executive Director. Major League Baseball Players Association has announced that Bruce Meyer has been unanimously elected the interim executive director of the union. Previously, the deputy director, Meyer, will take over for Tony Clark, who surprisingly resigned yesterday as news emerged that he had an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, who was working for the MLBPA. Matt Nussbaum is now the interim deputy director. Jeff Pass on ESPN reported Meyer's election prior to the official announcement. Meyer will continue to act as the chief negotiator through the upcoming collective bargaining agreement talks, with the current CBA set to expire on December 1st. Another lockout is widely expected, and the last one dragged into March. So it seems Myers is positioned to potentially lead the union for a year or more, despite the interim tag. Ever since the Clark scandal emerged yesterday, it seemed likely that the union would pivot to Meyer. He has been the union's clear number 2 and top negotiator for years. With the season about to begin and the big CBA deadline less than a year away, maintaining stability seemed like an easier path than undergoing a lengthy search for a replacement. Left-handed Brett Suter, a member of the union's 8-player executive subcommittee, framed it that way yesterday. We're going to have an interim director and keep everything as stable as we can this year. Now, we're going to have some lockout, boys and girls. This is going to be really bad. It was bad the last time. But, this is not what Major League Baseball needs, to be honest with you. There are a lot of fan bases that are not happy about the money that's been spent by the Dodgers in particular. And it's not so much the money that they're spending, it's the fact that the Dodgers have been spending money and basically kicking the can down the road and deferring the money. And fans don't like things that are deferred. We know how much so many fans goof on the fact that the Mets have deferred money to buy Bonilla. That's constantly talked about. So the fans are not happy that the Dodgers have been doing it. Hey, Dodgers can do whatever they want, but there comes a point where it's gluttony. And we know that the Dodgers have a group of owners that when it's time to pay the piper, they're going to sell that team to whoever can afford not only the team, whatever their value is going to be, and all the debt that they're going to take in. So that is something a lot of fans are not happy about. Plus, there are a lot of owners that don't spend money. So you got like this sort of weird dynamic. And you got all these different teams making excuses, all these owners making excuses. Like the Pirates owners, one of the wealthiest people, one of the wealthiest men in the country, he doesn't spend money. This year he's spending money. People say, why? I think it's to shut up everybody to a certain degree. Plus, he has a player that's going to be leaving very shortly, and that's Paul Skeens. The A's, they don't spend money. That guy has money. You got teams that don't spend money. The Rockies, what the hell are the Rockies doing? You got teams here that just don't spend money. I'm pretty lucky now with the Mets because we have a great owner, and Steve Cohen, he spends money. He wants to keep spending money until they win. And it's balling the hell out of him that they're not winning. And he's spending this money. He's used to being successful and being at the top. But the idea that, and at the same time, the media is egging all this stuff on, again, just stirring up the crap, But let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut 2. Hopefully we'll have some more drama here with this thing with Tony Clark. It's probably over with the thing. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.